Aloha and welcome to Wind in Her Hair. Guaranteed no BS, real breakthroughs, raw truths on mindset, love, sex, purpose, and so much more. This is about getting wind in your hair, getting unstuck, being free, and stepping fully into who you were meant to be, starting right now. Welcome to Wind in Her Hair. Today I have a very special guest by the name of Austin Linney. And he hails in from Austin, Texas, and he is a performance coach. And it just so happens to be that he is my performance coach. So I wanted to have him on the show because he changed my life, and I wanted to interview him, get a little bit deep with him, and he coaches on mindset and on business. So welcome, Austin.
Thank you. Such an honor to be here. I don't know if I've been on somebody's podcast where I've also been their coach. Maybe only once before. So this is super interesting. She's probably going to cut me open, guys. She's going to be on the other foot this time.
We're going to get a little deep. We're going to get a little raw. Ready? Let's dive into the first question. So I want to know what sparked your journey into coaching. Like, was there one defining moment that changed everything for you?
You know, I think that I had helped people for free for a couple of years because I knew the responsibility of coaching is very important. You're in people's lives. The story that changed it for me was the second client I ever had. I was very new to it. I didn't have any structure around it. I didn't know what I was doing. Didn't really know the guy that well. And he got on in the first 5 minutes. This is a man of 2 businesses, 3 kids, 20-year marriage, and says to me in the first 5 minutes, I'm going to leave. I want to leave my wife. And I hyperventilated, not like he didn't see it, but I was like hyperventilating inside because I realized in that moment, the responsibility of coaching carries a lot of weight. There's kids involved, there's family involved. And so I listened to everything he said. And then I gave him some piece of advice at the end of the call that really changed his perspective on everything. And they're still together to this day. And so that was kind of my foray into like, oh, this is not play. You're like in people's lives. And so that's when I started really taking it serious, got some training around it, got some structure, learned from some people that were way ahead of me. My mentor's been doing it 20 years. So, but also always being true to the style that I like. And I feel like that's the greatest thing I've done in my coaching.
So you teach on mindset work. What is something that most people get wrong about mindset work?
I think that they think mindset is motivation. And I think motivation is fleeting. I think that ultimately what you're looking to do is, what I tell people is you want to become a palm tree. So in the midst of chaos, the roots are so deep that they sway with the wind. And I think a lot of people, I think mindset is like in your face, like yell at you, like David Goggins motivation. And like really mindset is more about a knowing that you're going to be capable of doing. One of the greatest compliments I ever got from a client was when I hired you, I thought that you were going to tell me what to think, but you taught me how to think. And because now you taught me how to think, I can do anything. And so I think that people think mindset is rah, rah, rah. And I think it's more of a calm, peace understanding of how you work and how you think.
And I know a lot of people don't even realize they're stuck, right? They're completely unaware. So how do you help clients break the self-sabotaging patterns that they have when they don't even know that they're stuck?
Well, I think most people, I go out on a limb and say most people don't realize they're stuck at all, because it's kind of a Joe Dispenza thing. When he talks about, he says, you know, you're driving to work the same way, you know, you're brushing your teeth with the same hand, you know, you're doing all the things that you think should get you where you need to go, right? And so one of my favorite movies is Tin Cup, the golfer who can't figure out his swing because he's stuck in his head, and his caddy makes him put his change in his right pocket and turn his hat around and like,
I need to watch that.
Yeah, would do all these weird things, right? Because he's chili dipping, like he's hitting the ball terrible. He's a great golfer. And he goes, why are you doing all these things, making me do all these weird things? It's embarrassing. And he's like, because I'm trying to get you out of your head. And so I try to say very random stuff and try to just break the cycle. I call it like sticking the spoke in the wheel, because we can continue to do the same thing over and over again, because the pain of it is not enough for us to really change. So I don't understand. One of the things I'm fascinated with, I could spend the rest of my career just learning this thing. Like, why does it take, you know, a 5-alarm fire or running into a brick wall doing 120 for us to change? Like, can we just change, like, because it's the right thing to do and grow? We tend to only change if like somebody gets cancer in the family or divorce or these big things. And it's like, one of my dreams is to get people before that and help them not have to do the things that I did, hit rock bottom so many times in my own.
So, and also a lot of people don't want to change because it takes too much work, right? You have to be intentional. You have to be consistent. You have to be disciplined. And so I think about this a lot. So because it takes work, most people don't have that sort of drive in them. So would you say that's one of the main reasons that people don't change is because it's just too much work and people are too freaking lazy?
Well, I think they're comfortable with mediocrity. I think that's the first thing. Okay, here's the difference. They think that the work stops after the change, but it's a shift of their mindset of saying the work never finishes, right? Like you and I are very driven people. Like we're getting up every day and we're saying like, hey, how can I be better today? What's the feedback that I want? Really what they're scared of is feedback, right? They're scared of like somebody calling them, and one of the things that's changed in my coaching is like, I feel like in the beginning, I was worried about how they took some of the things I said. And now I'm just like, no, this is the way that you're going to take it. And you can choose to do it or no. It's not really up to me. And so the work, right? What if we just like change the word of the process? We associate these things and then we get in our head, right? Go back to when you were learning to walk. One of the jokes, in the personal development space is like, did you give up trying to walk when you were, when you couldn't walk the first day? No, you kept trying. But like as adults, like we don't read books anymore. We don't work out, like after, high school was kind of like ended. So before all that, it was, no, I didn't read any books after high school. I don't work on myself. I never saw a therapist. This is all really new. Here's also something very interesting. They associated the work with being weak. That's definitely from Texas. That's the thing. Don't show your emotions. Don't go to a therapist. Don't do the work. So that's another thing that's that subconscious belief in your head is like, if I'm vulnerable, I'm going to be weak.
That reminds me, a listener DM'd me and he said, so Anna, if I have to do the work, if I'm working on myself, does that mean I'm broken or something's wrong with me? And I told him, no, sometimes you have to do the work because you kind of are broken. You've got so many limiting beliefs you've got to throw in the trash, so many wounds that need to be healed, people you need to forgive, shit you need to let go of. So in that case, yes, you have a lot of work to do. But after you do the majority of the work and you're kind of on the train, going steady, you're still going to continue to do the work. Doesn't mean you're broken.
I'm going to pull it up because I want to get it right, but I'll interject with what one of the most powerful things that I wrote in my journal recently.
And why do you journal?
Because this all comes from addiction. The things that we hold in the closet with the lights off and behind everything else are the things that own us and control us. And so if you leave it in your head, then it's going to stay in your body. And if it stays in your body, then it's going to own you. So when you get it, so here's something I do for everybody. I journal all week and then I turn it into ChatGPT and I ask it for my blind spots, my anchor mindsets, my affirmations, and where I can do better.
I love that. People do ask me also, what's personal development, Anna? What does that even mean? Basically, what you just said is the epitome of personal development. Being able to sit with yourself, dig a little bit deep, be introspective, and take your journaling and throw it into ChatGPT to show you your blind spots. That is amazing.
You ready to take it to the next level? So yeah. Not only that, I do that, and then I throw all that in a notebook LM podcast, and that's what I listen to in the morning when I'm
wow. Definitely taking it up a notch. So how does mindset play into success in relationships, not just career or goals, but why is mindset so important in relationships?
One of my favorite movies of all time is Catch Me If You Can. I think in a former life, I was a con artist. I love that kind of stuff. And he tells a story about the two mice in a bucket. And he says the one mice can't figure his way to get out. So he dies. And the mice goes around in circles so much that he churns the butter up to be hard and then climbs out of the bucket. The mindset is the way to climb out of the bucket. One of the things that people don't understand, especially because I help a lot of people in addiction spaces, wherever you are in life, you were the one that got you there. So you're the only one that has the key to get out. Even I can't help you with that. Even your brother can't help you with that. The work on the mindset, how you learn, how you think, gets you out of the gym. You know what's really interesting? There's two things that have changed in my life that are like all things, but absolutely massive if you take them into context. So what's interesting, right, is that I think that when I started getting into personal development and I started changing, I thought that the change was supposed to yield perfect. And when I fell in love with the messy and the not knowing and the unshaped identity, I think that's when I truly started healing, right? And creating this like false narrative of like, okay, I've decided to change, so everything's going to be perfect now. No, it's going to be absolutely way worse because you're actually deciding to look at all the things that you didn't know you needed to look at, right? And so I found the quote that I was looking for.
But it always gets worse before it gets better, you know?
Not only does it get worse, it gets way worse, way worse.
And it gets better. So there's hope. There's light at the end of the tunnel.
So here's the quote from my journal. Your past doesn't need permission to close. Your presence needs permission to fly. Your presence. You're already healed. Now you're just afraid to stand as the man that's no longer broken because you have to let go of your broken story.
And some people, they don't want to let go of their story because that's all they know, right?
Identity is wrapped up into the chaos, or this is how it's always going to be, or all these different narratives that they've created, and they're all false, right? And so one of the tactics that I do with clients is called cleaning up the windshield. So it's like you have to clean up the windshield of all this, the programming, the things that you think, the stuff, all these things that, you think that this is what you want. That's why most people's goals, most people's like dreams and visions, they're not even theirs. They're somebody else's, or, a brother said this, or a pastor said this, or an old boss said this. And you kind of like lost yourself and even what you're after. You don't know anything.
So that makes me think of the subconscious mind. A lot of people don't even understand this, that the subconscious mind is what's driving us on autopilot. So you mentioned the wounds from childhood and all those type of things, limiting beliefs. And so talk a little bit more about the subconscious mind and how powerful it is and how that pretty much drives people's thoughts and actions and the decisions they make.
So if you want to understand everything that exists in the human being, it's all the subconscious mind. Literally everything. Okay. So the quick synopsis of the situation is 80 to 90% of everything that we do is based off the subconscious mind. What that means is there's two acts in your body that need the most energy. It's eating and thinking. Okay. So the body by nature is conserving energy. That's what its goal is to do in life.
So not having sex, that's not one of the actions okay, moving on.
So I was in the flow and now she's going. So basically it's going to conserve energy because it only has a finite amount, right? So when you say certain words to yourself over and over again, the brain is going to go, oh, that's a normal thing. We need to put synapses within our brain to have a closed circuit for that to be in our subconscious. All right. So if you say negative stuff, you're going to think negative stuff. So when I drank, the subconscious thing of I got off of work and I drank was what I did. So I would literally get to drink 2 or 3 at the end of the night and I didn't even know I was doing it because it was subconscious behavior. It's the same way you drive to work all the time. It's the same way all those things. So my philosophy when I started getting away from the drama and getting away from the addiction is I'd rather fill my head with positive things than negative. So morning, your affirmations, you're reading Jim Rohn, you're reading a good book, you're listening to a good podcast, you're listening to positive music. When you start doing these things, you realize how much TV, people's conversations, all these things, words you're reading, a television program, you realize how negative it is. And this is what is indoctrinated into us, and we don't even know why it's doing it. And so the book that I recommend to everybody that I bought like 80 times is What You Say When You Talk to Yourself. And it's the original OG version of like how to reprogram your mind. And so they talk about smoking. And so you don't say, hey, I'm going to stop smoking. They say, hey, I'm a healthy person that no longer needs to smoke. And so you say that to yourself for 30 days straight. And then one day you wake up and you're just like, I don't need to smoke today.
I love that because you're changing the language, changes everything. So people who want to stop drinking, for me, example too, I have a mantra that says like, I'm not drinking for relief because I already have that relief. I don't have to punish myself anymore. But my pet peeve is people who complain and people who are negative and pessimistic, right? So for the most part, especially since I've healed myself and leveled up dramatically, I don't attract these bench warmer type people, right? But we still will once in a while. And I look at it as an opportunity to kind of be reminded, what are your values? What do you tolerate? What do you not tolerate? Recently, I had a man come into my life who was somebody that I would never spend time with. And so it's interesting to me that even though we don't want to attract these negative, deceitful, non-authentic people, they still will pop up into our life once in a while. And that's when we have to have discerning eyes to say whether this person is authentic or not, and always be on guard and always be aware and be able to, separate the good from the bad.
Well, all that is a test to see if you're going to go back to who you used to be. That's why they're there. And when you have discernment, you say, you know what, that's not, I'm not going to do that anymore. And it's exciting because then it even takes you to the next level. You're like, okay, I saw it. I got it. Boom. Let's go to the next level. It's fun.
So something you said made me think about for people who are new to personal growth. What you said is personal growth is basically attracting good people and not complaining and not being a victim. And so I would say the opposite of personal growth is somebody who is a victim, who has a victim mindset, who thinks it's everybody else's fault, who blames everyone else for the situations they're in. I liked what you said about how the situation you're in is nobody's fault but your own. And a lot of people cannot own that. They cannot take full responsibility for the house that they're in, the relationship they're in, the job that they're in, right? So I think that's important to understand. Like the opposite of personal growth is a victim fixed mindset.
You are the only one that has the key to get you out of where you are. This is the quintessential addict situation. It's like, oh, I drink because this person and that person and everything. It wasn't until I read the book Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. And I was, no, dude, this is all you. However you feel about your father, however you feel about your childhood, this is you, bro. You need to stare in the mirror and you need to have a conversation with yourself. But here's what's great. Because it's you, you have all the power in the world. And look, I'm about to say something extremely controversial, and I rarely say this because I think it's great, right? But I didn't go to AA. I just quit cold turkey. Now I'm going to men's groups, Christian men's group.
So since you mentioned your addiction, can we dive into that?
So when I was 18, 19, 20, 21, I was addicted to cocaine and methamphetamines. Booze, that's stuff. So, as somebody who's highly ADHD, I never found a dosage of Ritalin that I liked. But for me, I always felt my best version and clearest head when I had amphetamines. And so while other people would, they'd have their different viewpoints on cocaine and meth, I felt like I was a rock star, that I could think clearly, I could work quicker. There's a thing in ADHD called hyperfocus. It's a studied scientific thing of basically you can move faster than other people when you get hyper-focused. It's literally a thing. I've seen it in my own work. And so, the problem with those kind of drugs is that, the one day, the Friday, Saturday, turns into Monday, Tuesday, turns into Wednesday, Thursday. And so for me, my breaking point with the hard drugs was I stayed up for 8 days straight around my birthday. I didn't eat for 8 days. I lost 30 pounds. I took 40 Xanax in 6 days at night, trying to go to bed, never went to bed.
Wow.
And so the problem was on day 7, I started seeing rabbits that weren't there. So that was a problem. I was still working. That was a whole nother can of worms too. But at the time, my ex-girlfriend saw me and she said, you're a good person. This isn't you, so figure it out. And she said that to me. I left work. I packed up all my stuff and I moved to Austin, Texas. And I never did hard drugs again after that day.
Stopped cold turkey.
Yeah, I just stopped cold turkey. And then proceeded to be a functioning alcoholic for 20 years.
So you dropped one habit and picked up another. Yeah.
Well, I sold wine and made drinks. So it was part of my daily routine.
How long were you an alcoholic for?
Probably 25 years.
You were drunk the whole time?
Yeah, I was drunk the whole time.
Yeah.
So towards the last 6 years, I didn't get hammered, but I drank every day.
Mm-hmm. And what would you drink?
So I'm not a beer guy. I made main cocktails and wine. So I sold wine for 20 years. So I was a huge wine drinker. I was a huge liquor drinker, whiskey. I worked at the top places, all the stuff, everything that you could think of. Traveled to France, all the places. But at the end, and what I tell most alcoholics and anybody that's listening, I'm going to hit you right between the eyes. You start drinking vodka because you don't care anymore. and it's easy to mask, and it's just easy to go down. And so every person that I've helped get sober, I literally say to them, like, let me guess, you're drinking vodka because you've given up. And they're like, yeah, right. So yeah, I've been sober 6.5 years as of today.
That's pretty amazing, because I do know of some people who chose not to go to AA and they were able to do it on their own. I've gone to Al-Anon, which is a sister group of AA. It's for family members of alcoholics, because I was in a relationship where the person wouldn't stop drinking for anyone or anything. But anyone listening, if you haven't heard of Al-Anon and you're in a situation where you're with somebody who drinks, family member, loved one, whatever, and you want like support and help, I would highly suggest Al-Anon, because I remember, Austin, what you said earlier about being powerless. I went to an Al-Anon meeting one night and I felt, what am I doing here? This is not me. I'm not in an alcoholic situation, right? I didn't grow up around alcoholism. And I didn't really start drinking actually until I got married when I was like 29, 30. Really didn't start drinking until I was 30. But I went to this Al-Anon group and I walked out that night with my whole life changed, because the light turned on and I realized what I was dealing with. And I realized for the first time ever how powerless I was over changing that other person. We all think, okay, I'm not really trying to change this person, but I was trying to get him to stop lying, to stop drinking, to be more connected, to engage with me on an emotional level. And I was literally beating my head against a brick wall, because I thought if I just say the right thing, it'll change his mind. And he'll have this profound moment where he's like, oh my gosh, I'm such an asshole. What am I doing?
You know what's interesting, and I think I've shared it with you, and it's the more and more I hear about your story, the more and more people reach out to me. I'm going to write a book for spouses and kids and family members that deal with alcoholics, because I think it's a more powerful book. The thing that is unsettling for y'all is that the alcoholic chooses it. You don't choose it. You choose that person, and then you have to deal with their choices, even though they're not your choices. And so it makes it extremely difficult, because, as you stated, you are powerless in the situation because they continue to choose that thing over you.
This makes me think too of one piece of advice I want to share with anybody who is with an alcoholic or in a narcissistic, toxic relationship. So I was taught this one acronym called DEEP, DEEP, and it stands for defend, explain, engage, and personalize. And this is something that changed my life overnight. When I stopped getting deep with my ex, I stopped exhausting myself. And I realized no amount of defending myself, explaining my situation or my point of view, or engaging with him in these debates and these arguments, or personalizing everything that came my way was going to resolve anything or change anything at all. And I was just wearing myself out physically, mentally, emotionally. I have a question for you. What limiting beliefs do you still catch yourself entertaining?
I think that when people see me, or they hear me, or they think I'm a performance coach, whatever you want to call it, they think that I don't have them. I think the difference between me is I hear them, but I don't associate with them. So I think that you have them every day. I mean, I've filmed a ton of podcasts, but I still get nervous when I record, right? I've coached a lot of clients, but I still get nervous that the client's not going to change, right? So for me, my own limiting beliefs are centered around an understanding of, like, can I do this, right? Because always the weight of what I do relieves me, right? Clients text me on the weekend, or they're going through something. I take it so serious. Sometimes I feel maybe I don't have what it takes to keep this going. And so that is just a daily practice of, like, being in kind of taking time for myself, working out. So the limiting beliefs around, like, can you do these big things? And then obviously just around business all the time. There is a question on there that I would like to answer. This is my favorite one on there, if I could.
Go for it.
I believe it's the one around, when's the last time you got chills with a client? It's going to be you. I texted you this, and I'll share what I can. A lot of times this work is very hard. It's a lot of energy from me. And not that I would ever give it up, because I love it. But sometimes you don't feel like you're making an impact sometimes. Or you're kind of like, I go through my own stuff too, I'm going to try not to get emotional, but I don't think it's going to work. So,
yeah, no emotion allowed whatsoever.
I don't think it's going to work because I'm already crying.
Bring it on.
to watch the shift that you've had in the last like 8 to 10 days since we had that conversation about, your drinking. And, you said that you prayed for somebody to come in and help you. And then I just happened to be, a sober guy too, to watch, you remove something in your life that wasn't serving you, but not for the reasons that we thought, right? It's for different reasons. And so there's a thing, that I'm doing, but it's not the reason I'm doing the thing. I'm drinking the alcohol, but it's not the alcohol. It's the reason behind I'm drinking the alcohol. And so what I think is so fascinating, what gives me manifestation, magic, whatever you want to call it, God, all these things, is that message to you and what we talked about. And I'm not going to share your stuff. You're welcome to share your own stuff, but was at the right time, in the right moment, at the exact situation.
That's divine.
And how I was supposed to even talk to you was random. Like all these things. And if you would have heard it a week ago, it would have not hit if you would have heard it 2 weeks ago. And so that's where I just this is bigger than me. I'm here. I'm a conduit. I'm here to help. I'm here to point out. But all those synchronicities had to happen. And for me, you inspired me to just continue to pour into people even more. And like I told you in our text, like, yes, I'm coaching you, but through me coaching you is helping me even define my calling, my gift. And that's what excites me the most about what I do.
I love that. So this morning I was at church and just getting so inspired, thinking about how God's been working in my life. And it's so interesting how you were talking about synchronicities. And maybe a week or two ago, if I would have heard it, it wouldn't have hit as hard. And I realized before I moved to Nashville a couple of weeks ago, I was in Florida and I was having this conversation with God, asking like, why did I even go to Florida? It felt like it was a waste of time. And I heard this because God and I talk all the time, but I've never heard his voice audibly, but he speaks to my heart. And so he said, I still needed to do something in you. I had this little work to do. And he's funny. Like, if you don't know God, Jesus, he's funny. So we had this little conversation about how he still had to do this work in Florida. And I needed to be humbled, is what he told me. And a few things went on in Florida that I won't go into in this podcast. And I accepted it. I realized, okay, God, that seemed like a waste of time for me. It seemed like an unnecessary detour. But now I see, standing there in church, worshiping, singing the songs, I had this peace that fell over me that it was okay. To me, it seemed like a waste of time, but God has a bigger plan. And so I had to learn these little lessons. And then he brought me to Nashville. And I was like, well, why did I come to Nashville? And I heard him so loudly. He said, you came to Nashville for healing. And all of a sudden it hit me. I'm feeling emotional now. Like, you don't really know if you're not listening. So I encourage anyone who's listening right now to really open your eyes and your ears to what the God of the universe has to say, because he knows a thing or two, especially about you. And I realized, okay, it was totally confirmed. He brought me to Nashville for healing and to get my attention. For the first time in a long time, he has my full attention. And now it's like, Anna, now you can do this work in your life.
What I do is so untangible, right? It's an energy shift to be able to see past everybody's smoking mirrors and programs. And I'm not saying this because I'm on your podcast. I'm not saying it because I'm not saying any of those things. I don't know if in the last couple of months, I've been so proud of somebody to watch your change and the embrace and the growth and how quick you turn the switch. It was like, boom, like, yeah, it was 2 days of a lot of crying and figuring it out. But every day, I feel you getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and you have such a message to give. And it was that little thing, not little, but big. It was that little shift that's going to be able to impact so many people. And if you get to go impact those people, and I had a hand in that, well, then in my opinion, that's second-hand impact. I want to affect the people that then go affect other people. That's the way we create something special in this world.
I love that. So that reminds me too of the things that don't serve us. And so what you were just talking about was the thing that you helped me realize was a really big thing in my life that was taking up space that wasn't serving me, was drinking. And like you said earlier, I wasn't drinking because I liked the taste of alcohol or because I liked to unwind or because I liked it. I was drinking because of this little subconscious nagging limiting belief / feeling, right? And that was the feeling of guilt. And when I removed that piece of guilt, the desire to drink went away. And so
when I found out the real reason that my parents got divorced, that I beat myself up for 20 years, abused alcohol and addiction, that was predicated on this one thing I believed in when I was 17 years old, that I didn't find out till I was 36 why they really got divorced. My entire life was a freaking lie, everything. Like, I believe that I caused my parents' divorce and they never corrected me.
Why did you think that?
Because I was a bad kid and they were going to send me off to military school. And then my mom moved me to Beaumont so I would go to a new school. And so that's when my parents separated, but I never seen them fight. And then 3 months later, they come in and say, we're getting a divorce. And so I said to them that I'm the reason that you're getting divorced because I'm a bad kid. They never corrected me. So if you want to know why I was drinking and doing drugs, that's why, right? And so then at 36 years old, I find out why they really got divorced. And it took me 6 months to make peace with it. It wasn't like, oh, he told me this thing. Like, no, my entire identity of what I built, my entire life, my chips on my shoulder, everything was shattered. And so I didn't even realize this until 6 months later. I was at an Airbnb in San Marcos, Texas in the morning, and I had like a freaking breakdown. And I just started saying to myself, like, you didn't cause your parents' divorce. Like, you didn't cause your parents' divorce. And I said this 10 times over. And it was like, in that moment, everything lifted off of me. Like,
okay, we need to camp on this for a second because this is huge. I'm applying this to more than just the relationship with your parents. I'm thinking about parents in general, like talking to their kids and what you just said. So your parents said something not intentionally to you, but they didn't correct an idea that you had, and it literally haunted you for 20 plus years.
yeah, I didn't speak to my father for almost 20 years.
And then I think, what a waste. If only your parents would have said, hey, honey, like, just to be clear, you did not cause our divorce. I think, what would your life have been like? How much more productive would you have been? How much more successful? The parents of 3 children. Like, eye opener, like, news alert. If there's anything, any thought that you think your children have right now and make it right, correct it, whatever, remedy that just to be sure, because I personally think, wow, is there anything my children are thinking right now that is not correct? That's going to, really kind of drive the next 20 years for them. Oh, that totally reminds me. So when I got up on stage, I know I shared this with you, when I got up on stage as a pregnant single mother at the church I was going to, they had me get up there so I could repent of having a baby out of wedlock. And that pastor didn't realize that would do a number in my psyche for 20 plus years and make me think that God had to punish me, so I had to punish myself, so I didn't deserve anything good. So I ended up marrying a narcissist, having a horrible marriage, right? It sets off this chain of events. So the point is, it's so important, parents, to make sure that your kids are not thinking these untrue thoughts that are going to sabotage their lives.
So my favorite quote of all time, the single greatest problem with communication is the illusion that it's taken place.
Mm-hmm. Or that it's already been said?
Yes, basically.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So we think that we've communicated to our spouse, to our family, to our kids, things that are in our mind. We think that we've communicated to the world how we feel about ourselves. We haven't. And one of the things that's so interesting, and I can only say this because I have the data to back it up. Every time I get a client, every time they give me their goals, 4 weeks in, we rewrite all their goals.
Mm-hmm.
They're goals. They're somebody else's. We haven't communicated to the world what we actually want. So, here's the thing, and I agree with everything you said. If you're a parent, please go ask, is there something that I've said that you don't understand? Please. But I heard something from Tony Robbins. He was talking to a young girl whose dad was a drug addict. And she was 18. And he said, if he was the man that you wanted, you wouldn't be the woman you are. I don't wish what happened to me on anybody. I don't. But I know that I was chosen to walk that path because I was strong enough so that I could go turn around and help people in what I've been through. Now, I wouldn't mind if that path got a little easier from time to time, but apparently it's not what I signed up for. But yes, it's...
Do you think that there's anything from that you still haven't fully healed from or let go?
Yeah. I'm having a conversation with my father in probably 12 days. that I've been putting off for like 35 years.
When was the last time you spoke to him?
Yesterday. We speak once a week now for the last 3 years. So we made up. But I'm having the conversation that my 15, 13, 17-year-old needs to have. So.
Did you initiate that reconciliation? Okay, not him.
Yeah, no. Both did. I'll tell you the exact moment that our entire relationship changed. So I hadn't spoken to him in 8 months at the time. So not a text, not a call, 8 months, nothing. So I'm in San Clemente, California at my buddy's place doing a 2.5-hour podcast. Okay. Very long. And he's a men's coach. And at the end of the thing, we were talking about our father. And he said the number one issue with especially men and when it comes to relationships with their parents is that they never graduate the relationship with their parents. So they still behave as if they're 17, 16, 15, 18. They're not, I'm freaking 39 at this point. And I'm still acting like a 17, 16-year-old because you have to graduate your relationship and know and understand that you're an adult. Okay. That makes a ton of sense. I like it. Cool. So we drive back to the hotel. The moment I walk in the hotel, I get a phone call from him. I pick up the phone. Hey, how's it going? Blah, 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 blah. I get off the phone. What just happened? Like, that was so cool. And I realized that like in that moment, I graduated the relationship. I was no longer the 17-year-old. And 2 weeks later, we had lunch and now we talk like all the time.
Okay. So how does one graduate then from that relationship with their parents?
You have to realize that you don't need anything from them. You just want them to be there.
Because even though you're still their child, you're not their child anymore.
You're not. Perfect example, different but the same, right? Just to give you context. A lot of people listen to their parents' financial advice when their parents haven't been very successful. So why would you take advice from somebody? And so I think that we take our parents' advice for like the word. When we don't feel aligned in what they're saying, we fight back or we're in misalignment. So you have to be in alignment internally. And when you get in alignment internally, then you can look at your parents through a lens of like, they're just trying to figure it out just like we are as a human. And you kind of have to take everybody down off this pedestal. I had a revelation in the last couple of weeks. I think a lot of men put women up on pedestals. I think you should, but I also think that everybody's a human, right? Like just because you're up on a pedestal or not on a pedestal, it doesn't mean you have to treat them with disrespect, right? It's the same thing with your parents. They were figuring it out the same way you're going to figure it out as a parent, and stop beating them up because they didn't know the right thing to do.
Right.
Right.
I think it's important to put, like you said, put a woman up on a pedestal in the sense where you respect her and you honor her and you cherish her. Right? Like she's this rare gem. She deserves to be treasured. She deserves to be cherished, but not in the sense where you think they're invincible, they could do no wrong, that they, are perfect, whatever. And I hate that word. That's a pet peeve of mine when people say I'm not perfect. Oh, really? Oh, for a second there, I thought you were, because it's like, yeah, obviously no one is even near perfect. Like we're always going to be working on stuff. So that's irritating to me. I tell people, just say I'm working on stuff, and saying goals kind of are like ceilings. So what would be the alternative? That's a good segue into you becoming the best version of yourself. So what 3 habits would you want to share with other people that you recommend for building, an amazing kick-ass life?
So the greatest thing I ever did for myself was I started walking 45 minutes a day every morning, and I pretty much never missed a day. It's my time to listen to, manifestations, read a book, listen to music, etc. It's just time for myself in the morning to get what as I call, put my armor on for the day. Well, I'm going to go out in the world. For me, when I got sober, health was number one for me. One of the things that changed my life was there's a mentor that I followed. I'm part of his group. And he said that he went on a juice cleanse and he gained weight. And he got so mad that he threw the scale at the wall and broke it. And then he realized that the goal of the juice cleanse was to feel better. And he felt better. So if that was the goal, if that was the thing he wanted, then he did it, right? And so one of the things that I switched from is I work out every day of the week because I'm a person that enjoys health. Like I don't have a set thing of like for me, I'm a all in or all out. So I can't go work out Monday, Wednesday, Friday and not work out the other days. I have to work out every day. That doesn't mean that I go crazy every day, but it's just something that's changed my life and kind of reshifted the way I look at it. And then the last thing is I read insane amounts of books. I'm just curious by nature. I always want to be learning. It always, provides me to level up. I've read a lot of the same books. So like, those are just things that are non-negotiables for me.
They read, are you talking about literally reading or listening to audibles?
I listen to audibles and I read in the morning. So I do a little bit of both, but.
So if someone listening feels completely stuck, then what's the first thing that they can do to shift that into momentum?
I'm going to give the most counterintuitive advice in the history of the world. It's what I do with all my business clients, and they can't stand it. They literally text me and go, I hate everything about this. I make them stop what they're doing. Okay. So let me break it down for you. People, when they want to get somewhere else, they double down on what they're already doing. Okay. So I have a rule. It's called the 48-hour can't make a decision rule. Okay. So you can't make a big decision. You can't change anything. You have to go do something that you enjoy, whether it be take your wife out of town, take your kids out of town, go play golf, go fishing, whatever. You have to step away from the current problem that you're doing. And then we can get to work after you've taken some distance from it. But too many people want to press on in the moment. And so I said to my client the other day, what do you love doing? I love to ride my dirt bike. Do you think I should go check on the job site, or do you think I should ride my dirt bike all afternoon? And I said, you should go ride your dirt bike all afternoon. So he goes rides his dirt bike all afternoon, and he comes back the next day in the best mood ever. And so it's the counterintuitive advice. It's don't double down on more. Go take the day off. Go take your wife out. Go take a quick trip. Go read by the pool. Like, just don't do the thing that you've been doing, because more of that thing is not going to get you to where you're going.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That makes me think of the book that we were just talking about, 10 times is better than 2 times. So people, this book changed my life, and Austin referred it to me. And also, since you're talking about taking the day off, I used to consider myself a hustler. Like, I have a ton of energy. I'm always productive, working really hard from the moment I get up to the moment I go to sleep. I am busy all day. If it's even playing, I totally make time for play. Even if I go down to the putting green or the driving range or play some pickleball or whatever it is, I will make time to play my guitar and build my business, whatever I'm doing on all the things. I have a lot of irons in the fire. I'm going to do all those things, right? And so it's Monday. I also work out basically 6 days a week. And so Austin was like, Anna, you're going to take Friday off. And I remember, you probably remember it because you have a photographic memory, but I just stared at you and I was like, wait, I don't understand. Why would I do that? And that also comes from like that book, 10 times is better than 2 times, talks about having a 4-day work week. And 3 of those days, it's called the focus days, right? Where you are locked in doing deep work. And the 4th day, you're kind of more like, it's called buffer work, where you're whatever. You can explain it better than me. I did listen to the book, but I like to listen to books and then take notes the second time. And so I did that. I took the Friday off and I really just did something I loved, which is writing music and playing my guitar. And to me, that was therapy. And I thought, wow, this is something that's so simple, but it's life-changing. And it moved me from hustle mode, which is actually not that great of a thing, to rest mode. And when we can put ourselves into a place of rest and peace and calm and being grounded, we're able to be more creative. And so I'm a creative. Austin, you're a creative. For the creative people, you can't just keep pushing yourself. You've got to make time and space to let your creative juices flow and be still and pray or ask or look for a vision, right? I love this verse in the Bible. It says, without vision, people perish. And it's so important for us, everybody, to have the vision of where they're going, because without those coordinates, you're going to end up way off in left field, not where you want to be.
When I'm stuck, it's when I don't have business ideas. Mm-hmm. And doesn't mean I have to act on them. When I don't have a creative idea or I don't have something, I realize that I need to take a day off. So like my creativity, when it's peaking, I know I'm right in the right balance.
I love that. This has been such an amazing interview. I know that our listeners are going to get so much value out of this. So we're going to, in the show notes, we're going to leave places where we can get a hold of you. So Austin, how can people get a hold of you?
Super easy. AustinLinney.com, LINNEY.com. I have my podcast on there. You can reach out to me there. My email is AJ, Linney@gmail.com. So AJLinney@gmail.com. Feel free to reach out to me.
So you have a podcast.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
did you write a book?
I didn't. It's coming. Many books are coming, but
Okay. And are you on social media?
I am. So Austin Linney, same handle, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all the places, LinkedIn, same as.
Any last closing remarks or any encouragement or motivation or inspiration you want to give to our listeners?
Wherever you are in your life, you're not as far away as you think you are. I think that we think that the opportunity that we want, or the thing that we want, or the new mindset, or the car, or the job, or whatever it be, whatever we're after, we feel like it's miles away. When really, it's a small shift. It's a 2 millimeter shift in the way that you think, the way that you act, that allows that to be available for you. But if you truly believe that it's as far away as you think it is, then it will stay there. But the moment that you bring it close to you, and the moment that you realize that it's just around the corner. My favorite thing to do in the entire world is hike. And you know what I say to myself all the time? The view is just going to get a little bit better around the corner. Just a little bit better. And that's a metaphor for life. And so wherever you are, if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling lost, just keep going. Just one foot in front of the other. And I promise you, it's going to show itself.
Because as long as you don't quit, you will get there. But sometimes when I'm kind of having a bad day, which is rare because I'm super stoked on life and super thankful, but I do tell myself, Anna, but if you quit now, you are 100% not going to get there. And that confirms it for me. Like, okay, I know I'll never get there if I quit. So I can't quit. I just have to keep going, even if it's baby steps. So I love that. That's very encouraging. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. You're an amazing.
Thank you. All right. So thank you for joining us. And until next time, bye. You showing up matters to me. Now get some freaking wind in your hair. And if this helped you, subscribe. If a friend needs to hear it, share it. And leave a review so more people find it.